Welcome to another version of Right to the Point podcast. The best guests that we've had so far, two former Republican Study Committee chairmen, the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, thank you for joining, and our House Majority Leader, Steve Scalise. You guys are great, you're doing a great job, and there's a lot to talk about today, but thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Glad to be here. It's a great idea. We should have thought of it when Steve was the chair a long time ago.
Well, we're going to talk about a lot of fun things, and I'd actually love to hear y'all's experience when you're RSC chair as well. But before we do that, I think this audience loves conservative values. They love to know the story of how many of us got here. We've had many guests, many RSC members as guests on this podcast. Speaker, tell us a little bit about just growing up, getting to the point where you became Speaker of the House. I think everybody'd love to know about.
Okay, the 2-minute version is I wasn't expected to be here. I'm the first person in my family to go to college. My dad was a disabled firefighter. He got blown up in the line of duty when I was 12 years old and got burned at 80% of his body, 3rd-degree burns. I was the product of a teen pregnancy because my mom and dad were high school sweethearts, and I was conceived their junior year in high school. So we had humble beginnings, put it that way. But they were insistent that I go to school because I wanted to be the fire chief of my local hometown in Shreveport, Louisiana. But after Dad got injured, that they were not so enamored with that idea. So I was the oldest of 4 kids, first to go to college. I went to LSU, followed Steve Scalise down to LSU. Because when you grow up in Louisiana, if you go to college, you just go to LSU. That's all I really knew. So I wound up doing that, and then I stayed there for law school, became a lawyer, and I married my wife, Kelly. I met her 2 weeks before I graduated from law school, so she missed the whole misery of that period of life, and it worked out well. We've been married 26 years now, as of May, and we have 4 kids of our own. And I was practicing law. I did constitutional law litigation. I was defending religious freedom and the sanctity of life in the courts around the country. And on the way to work one day, the state rep who represented my district said, "I'm going to run for judge, and you should run for the legislature." And we prayed about it and decided it was something we should do. And I served down there in Baton Rouge for about a year and a half. And then my congressman called, same conversation. "Hey, I'm going to run for Senate. I think you should run for Congress." And everybody got behind us and we did that. So been here now almost 8 years, became Speaker exactly 2 years ago in a very odd fashion, unprecedented. Wasn't expecting it. But it's been 2 years. October 25th of 23 is when I was handed the gavel. Life has not been the same since. It's been a wild ride, but I've enjoyed serving with you two guys. And I will say about RSC, it is the intellectual arsenal of conservatism in the House. I've always appreciated that about our caucus, and it's the largest caucus in Congress as well, because it attracts everybody who identifies as a conservative. And we bring all those ideas together and turn them into legislative text and policy, and we make a big difference for the country. So you've done a great job, my friend. You've been Steve and I were talking about that. You're a great chairman. It's been an exceptional run, and we've gotten a lot done all together.
Well, thank you for that, and what a fascinating story. And just kind of thinking about, okay, the phone call you get from your state rep, and then from the congressman, and then from the conference to be the speaker. Mm-hmm. There are no coincidences here. And
God chooses the lowly things to confound the wise. That's the passage of Scripture that explains this. But my focus is, as yours as chairman and his was before me, we're team builders. You know, we want everybody to succeed. We want every member to be of their highest and best use to the conference, to the cause, to their country, and ultimately to the kingdom of God is how I see it. And so we do well to make everybody succeed. And when you lead that way, when you're servant leader, as you two guys are, it makes a difference, and it allows the team to really accomplish big things together, because none of us care who gets the credit for it, you know. And that's a really important principle right now, especially in the era when we have the tiniest margins in U.S. history. You know, you got to do it that way.
All the naysayers that say, "Oh, you can't do this, you can't pass that." Well, as I've told you before, I knew that bill was going to pass on July 4th because I felt like there was one person saying that said it is going to pass, and I felt like God's favor was on you, and I think the rest of our conference did.
Team effort.
We've got a great discussion that we're going to have. Leader, thank you for being here. I was hoping for some cross-state rivalry here on LSU, but now I'm kind of outnumbered here on that side of it. We will talk about that later.
You had the last word, but we're from different parts of the state. He's from, we call it East Dallas, up in Shreveport. I'm from New Orleans, so very different parts of the world, literally. But both ended up in the same place. Speaker and I both went to LSU, and similar beginnings. I mean, I'm the first in my family, like the Speaker, first to go to college, and not a common route into politics because I didn't come from a political family, never thought I'd run. But when I was at LSU, my major was computer science, and actually worked in the computer field, but my minor was political science, and actually took a course in political science from James Carville before he ran Bill Clinton's campaign, which shows you how kind of interesting politics can be, and learned a lot about that, and didn't like the way politics were going. And that's really what got me interested in politics, more to volunteer for other people, because our state, the Speaker can tell you this, we came from a very blue state. Louisiana was all Democrat, all the statewide electeds were Democrat, the legislature was 2/3 Democrat when Mike and I both served in the state house. And yet, when we were in college, we had the largest college Republican chapter in the nation, because we were trying to galvanize people against what was happening in our state. Bad policies running people out of Louisiana. And, the shadow of Huey Long that still runs around some today. But, you had an image of corruption, which states like Illinois have now taken over. But we wanted to shed that. We really got involved volunteering because we didn't like the way government was being run by Democrats, ironically. You look at a lot of the failed states. And so we wanted to do something about it. Never thought I'd run, but ultimately one of my college roommates became the political director of the state Republican Party when we were a nascent party, and said, look, there's an open seat in the state house, you should run for it. And I'm working for a technology company in New Orleans. I'm a young single guy, again, not from a political family. Never thought it'd be something I'd do. And I actually told him no 2 different times, and he kept coming back, and it shows you a thing about persistence. And finally, the 3rd time he came back, I said, you know what, I'll look at it. But if we do it, it's going to be on my terms. We're going to run a grassroots campaign. And I said, you, the political director of the state party, have to run my campaign for free. And he agreed to do that. And we ran a real grassroots campaign. And I was able to win overwhelmingly, and ran on real policies that I said I would do, and did those things when I was in the state house, and ultimately returned our state from blue to red. And now it's a very red state. All statewide are Republican. And I tell this to, whether it's our colleagues from California, New York, other states, don't accept mediocrity and failure. Just because your state's being run poorly, ours was too. And we just took it back. People have to just insist on saying we want better. And frankly, it's those conservative policies, the Reagan policies that now Donald Trump is carrying out, that have always been proven to work. And that's what's so great about RSC, is 3 chairmen of RSC know it's conservative principles that work. And what's really unique about the Republican Study Committee is we're not a think tank. There are a lot of great think tanks that come up with great ideas. We're policymakers. We're elected to govern, and then we get to turn those great ideas into laws that actually help improve the lives of real people. And that's what I love the most about RSC, and in these roles now with Donald Trump, we're working to actually turn this country around by implementing good conservative policy.
I love that. And what a vote of confidence to states like California that are, it's pretty tough right now.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of Republicans in California.
It can happen.
They
But
do
you
need to
gotta
take
work
their
at
state
it.
back. Yeah, you're right. Speaker, any memories as RSC chairman that have helped you in the current role, things that you did or things that you were proud of that you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, well, I took over at the beginning of my sophomore term, and it was a time where we had just lost the majority. This is right the beginning of the 3rd year of the Trump administration. And there was this sort of blue wave that came over, and we lost our majority. And so we had to make a decision, and I came in as chair very intent on the fact that we would not just wander in the wilderness as a minority for a couple of years. We were going to use it as very productive work time. So we separated RSC into the various task forces and working groups. That model still exists today, and you guys are using it so well. We had 7 different working groups, and we produced, booklets full of policy to show, we wanted to illustrate what we're for, not just what we're against. It was easy to rail against and vote no on the progressive agenda, but we were presenting real alternatives. And so every issue under the sun, we had our own policy prescriptions that we developed, and it turned out to be a very productive period for RSC. And I'm proud of that, because what we learned back then was when you put in the work, and we did a year's worth of work on each committee, we used that as the genesis for a lot of what became the Working Families Tax Cut. A lot of the policy prescriptions that RSC put together back then really were the foundation of what became our big, beautiful bill. And had we not done all that work and gotten everybody, building consensus among the largest caucus in Congress of conservatives, I don't think we would have had the elements and the ingredients in place to put together that massive piece of legislation that we did and pass it with just a 1-vote margin, effectively, is what we had. So people said, oh, they're pulling rabbits out of a hat. No, I think it was Vince Lombardi that said, victory loves preparation, right? So we prepared well in advance before we got those things done. And I learned a lot of that, and I sort of honed that skill set while serving as RSC chair. And so it wound up benefiting the whole conference, and I think the country, the work that we all did together back then.
Every American has benefited from that work. That is fantastic. Yeah. Leader, any time from your chairmanship at RSC that you draw upon now, or things that the audience should know?
Yeah, so many of those discussions, and as you know, as chairman, we meet once a week, and it's real deep discussions about policy, how to address things from a better conservative perspective. And you got some of the smartest people in America in that room, because it's members that are not just from all kind of different walks of life. We've got great leaders from all around the country, but they're on every committee in Congress too. And so when you come to an RSC meeting, you're literally talking to people that are in the middle of all the debates on all the big issues. And so, we're able to put together our own alternative budget, which is hard to do. Write a budget for the United States government. And the special thing about RSC is we always have produced budgets that show how we can balance the federal budget within the 10-year budget window. Not easy to do, but we've laid out how to do it. How to save great programs like Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security from bankruptcy. They're all gone bankrupt, and we need to save all of them from bankruptcy. But Democrats just want to demagogue and let them go bust. We actually want to continue to maintain that promise to seniors who paid into programs like Social Security and Medicare. How do you do that? We've laid out how to save those programs. One of the things that we worked on that really was important was after Obamacare. I came in as RSC chairman after Obamacare became law, and a horrible law. We laid out during the debate on Obamacare why it was going to ruin what's good about healthcare. If you really want to focus on the doctor-patient relationship, Obamacare was really focused on moving everybody to a single-payer healthcare system, a socialized, big Marxist socialist form of socialized healthcare. Horrible policy, breaking up the doctor-patient relationship. But while we were voting against it over and over again, the leadership in Congress was reluctant to put out an alternative. We were for repeal, but there was no replace. And so as RSC chairman, I said, we need to assemble the best minds. We had doctors, people on all the relevant committees. Let's get everybody at RSC together and write our own bill that can not only repeal Obamacare, but replace it with better, smarter ideas to lower premiums for families, to restore the doctor-patient relationship. And we drafted what became the American Healthcare Reform Act. And you had members that weren't even in RSC that asked to be co-sponsors of the bill because it was the only alternative to Obamacare that was out there. And everybody was afraid that wasn't a part of it that, oh, gee whiz, you're going to get attacked by the left and the media. Not that they're any different. Because once you put pen to pencil, it's a paper, then people are going to attack it. And I said, conservative ideas have always been proven to work. If you can't go defend conservative policy, you shouldn't be in this business. And when we put the bill out there, we ended up with over 120 co-sponsors, including non-RSC members, and never once was the media or the Democrat Party able to attack anything in the bill because it's really good policy. And some of those have now become law, and more of those need to become law because, frankly, that's what's going to lower premiums for families. But it's being able to turn really good ideas from smart people in RSC into law that benefits families in America.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. And for our audience, to me, being chairman of this, I have two incredible, and others that have been chairman, but especially both of you as inspirations to push this organization, which I think pushes our conference. But we've got great examples. And another thing that I know our audience knows this about the two of you, but we're not just, to your point, talking about the negative stuff. We're talking about the positive stuff.
Yeah.
This is what we're for. These are two happy warriors that are the most fun to be with. But we're in a tough time right now. We're almost 30 days into a shutdown. Speaker, maybe give us a synopsis of where we are and why.
He and I are a lot less jovial right now than they normally are because we're feeling so frustrated and we're just angered by the fact that Democrats are playing games right now. And it's pretty readily apparent, the simple facts are that we must have Democrats to to reopen the government. And they keep saying breathlessly that it's the Republicans, they're in control of the government. Everybody knows from civics, and if you follow government at all, you have to have 60 votes in the Senate. We only have 53 Republicans. And so it is the Democrats who have now voted 13 times to close the government between the House and the Senate. Republicans voted every time to open it. So it's very clear, and everybody wants to know why. Well, it's important to note what they've countered, what they're demanding as ransom to reopen the government, to get paychecks back to federal employees and troops and TSA agents and Border Patrol agents and air traffic controllers and nutrition assistants to young women and elderly and disabled and veterans health care services and all of it. What they're holding at ransom is the people themselves, because what they're demanding is $1.5 trillion in new spending. They want $200 billion to be returned for health care to illegal aliens, paid more taxpayer dollars. They want to give $500 million back to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. They want to spend money all over the world on these wasteful foreign social programs to increase LGBTQ awareness in the Horn of Africa and all kinds of crazy stuff. They've put that on paper. They're demanding that as a ransom to reopen the government. And we're not going to do that, and they know it. And everybody wants to know why. Why would they do that? And it boils down to this, August, and you and I know it, Steve knows it. The Democrats in Congress are more afraid of the rising Marxist far left in their party than they are about taking food out of the mouths of hungry Americans. I mean, that's just a fact, and everybody can see it. You got Hakeem Jeffries in the House, Chuck Schumer in the Senate. Those are the two leaders. They're both from New York. And we all know that Marxism is all the rage in New York. Mamdani is about to be elected mayor of America's largest city. He'll ruin it in short order. But they're afraid, those two guys in particular, and many others in the House and Senate, they're afraid that if they don't appease the Marxist base, that they will kick them out of their political chairs. And that's the motivation. There's no other explanation. We had a clean, nonpartisan CR. We didn't load it up with anything any of us want. Clean as a whistle, and they rejected it. First time in history, any party's had the audacity to close the government down on a clean CR. And it is 100% a selfish decision on their part, because they don't want to lose their seats in Congress. Chuck Schumer's been here for 44 years. He doesn't know what else to do with his life.
This was President Biden's budget. He signed this budget into law.
It is Biden-era policies and spending, which we all loathe, of course, and we're working hard to change it. We finally have unified government. We have the Republicans in control, the White House, the Senate, and the House. And we have just enough votes, we hope, to have new appropriations to change those policies that don't make a lot of sense. But right now, we made the obvious and nonpartisan decision: just keep it open for 7 more weeks and allow us to finish that process. And that's what they voted against. It's the first time in all their lives they've done it. They have no explanation. They're trying to make it about all these extraneous issues that are not the issue of the day. It's whether we're going to keep government open. And it is infuriating to us that they're willing to do that, and they're saying the quiet parts out loud. You all heard them. Schumer said every day of this gets better for us, the Democrats. Why? So they can make a showing to the radical left.
It's really sad that we're here, because the shoe was on the other foot when President Biden was president and when Pelosi was speaker, that we had the adult conversation and were able to keep our military and Border Patrol and air traffic controllers funded. Something was said by the number 2 Democrat in the House, and we've all known that Democrats have undertones of anti-family policy, and Republicans are standing firmly for families. We are standing firmly to protect what our greatest asset is. But what Catherine Clark said recently is just, it's disgusting to say what she said, which was she knew that American families were struggling, and yet these are their only times of leverage. So they think of the family as leverage. Both of you have been incredible supporters of the American family. What is that? How does that hit you, and where do we go from here?
Yeah, August, the thing that hits us the hardest, and the speakers conveyed this every day in our press conferences, is that while Democrats are talking openly now that they know they're causing suffering, real suffering on families, they don't care because they want to exert leverage for what they can't even articulate. They are scared to death of their socialist Marxist base. The most extreme elements of their party, or who they're afraid of. Imagine, it's not they're doing it for something. They're doing this shutdown because they're afraid of their own voters. That's how vapid and literally how void of a moral compass the Democrat Party is right now. And so when their minority whip said the open part out loud that, gee whiz, they don't care that they're causing suffering because they want leverage. Who is suffering, I think, is important to ask right now. because real families are suffering, and it's getting more real every day. As you look at this, we're in the 4th week of a shutdown. You've got many federal workers, over 1 million, that are working on the job without pay. You know, our men and women in uniform, thank goodness President Trump has found money in other pots to pay our troops. Those pots of money are running out, by the way. But if you're a TSA worker, you're in a high-stress job as an air traffic controller. You know, you've got thousands of flights coming in, each flight with over 150 people that just expect to get on a plane and land safely in their destination. With all your stress, you now have to go be an Uber driver after hours just to put food on the table. And then you take this weekend. This weekend's a big inflection point in America. 42 million American families will lose their SNAP benefits. August, that's food stamps, that's food on the table for babies, for women, infant, and children program runs out of money this weekend. That's real people that will be suffering. So that what? Democrats, a couple of Democrats who are scared of their own voters can say, look, I'm fighting Donald Trump, who just won the election. It's disgusting. I think American people are finally figuring out what's really going on. I mean, you can look at the votes. There is a bill that opens the government. Doesn't solve our differences. We still have differences, and we just need more time to negotiate those differences. But in the meantime, don't hold the American people hostage. And the Democrats are saying, no, they don't care. They literally want to hold the American people hostage and cause that suffering. And it's real people. It's food literally that's not going to be on the table of 42 million people's tables. It's insane.
That's really sad. You both of you have done a great job. In the past couple of years, and since I've been elected, leading up to this year, and this year has changed because of your leadership, but people say, you know, Democrats always stick together. You Republicans should stick together. Well, now I'm going back home, and I've done a lot of town halls in the last couple of weeks, and people are saying, thank you for sticking together. And that is the two of y'all leading us. You talk to President Trump a lot. I would guess probably every day. You know, maybe give us some insight as to the heart of the president who came up with a solution to pay the troops. Despite the Schumer shutdown, he has almost solved world peace. You know, he's gone to the Middle East and done a historic peace deal. He's in Asia doing trade deals. I mean, give us some insight as to the president's leadership.
Well, it begins and ends with leadership, you know, and he, like us, always lamented that the party could not stick together. And we always would point out the Democrats stick together like a herd of sheep, you know. I mean, they don't move. They really think and act like a union in some ways. They really are socialists by their ideology, and we, on the other hand, as conservatives, are fiercely independent and rugged individualists, and nobody tell me what to do and all that, and that's great until you have a 1-vote margin, right? So what we really have worked on is the relationship component. First of all, everybody understanding what it is we're trying to achieve together. What are we here for, and what are we for? Not just what we're against, again, but what are we for, and RSC is central to that. But then helping everybody understand the role that they play on this team so that they can be of their highest and best use, so they can serve their constituents and their country the best. And people have bought into that model. And so we work very well together, and we've gotten a lot accomplished. I mean, you can make an argument the first 9 months of this Congress, this administration is most productive and probably in history. I mean, truly. Split screen, as we keep saying in the press conferences. On one side, you have President Trump and the Republican Party delivering for the people, cutting taxes, reducing regulation, eliminating fraud, waste, and abuse out of government, things we've been wanting to do our whole lives. We ended the border crisis. We're ending the crime crisis. We got American energy dominance going again for my Texas and Louisiana guys. I know y'all love that. And I mean, President Trump is literally ending wars around the globe. Mm-hmm. That's on one side. And on the other side, what have the Democrats accomplished in 9.5 months of this Congress? Nothing, except shutting the government down. Oh, and assaulting some ICE officers and inciting violence. You know, it's like, the people see the difference. There's a widening chasm between the two political parties. The contrast is more stark than it has been in the history of our nation. The way the parties have evolved, and there really isn't a choice anymore. We are for the hardworking American families. We demonstrate it. Not a talking point for us. Mm-hmm. We are delivering for them. And the Democratic Party is taking advantage of them. But we see them as America's greatest value, the American family. They see them as leverage. And that's their own words, as you pointed out, and it is difficult. I'd say it's impossible for them to deny that reality and get away from it.
We are I'm beyond excited to have you guys join this podcast. We're at the point in time where we've talked about a lot of hard issues, and we usually have a little fun. And We were going to talk about LSU football. I'm not.
I'm
not going to do that.
No.
I have
That's off
two
the table
questions
for the rest of the year.
you. And one has not been pre-briefed for our audience, so you'll know. But I'm going to start with. It's called the Right Opinion. This is the Right to the Point podcast. So I'll give you a little bit of time to think on what your right opinion is, which means doesn't matter what anybody says to you. You believe you're right. You know you're right. My right opinion, and this is very controversial, it's not widely accepted in Texas, but that chili also can include beans. And most people say, you're not a real Texan, and but look, I make it at home, it's great, the kids even love it. So, Speaker, I'll turn to you for a right opinion.
Don't get me going on gumbo and jambalaya, because we have all our opinions on that. Look, I got some staff in the room, and they will tell you, they will attest to this, that I'm really too much of a control freak when it comes to like design elements in the office. And they're laughing, listen to them, because they'll produce this really great looking stuff, but I have very settled opinions. I'm really a frustrated like graphic designer myself. I was a lawyer, but that's what I really wanted to do. And so I'll tell you what I'm right on political logos, okay? You have to use a serif font. None of this non-serif block letter stuff.
Okay.
That's what Democrats do. It's not serious. You need a serif, like Roman-style font to project seriousness, conservative principles. Otherwise, it just looks like a cartoon. So trust me on this, okay?
I love it.
Trust my opinion on that. They're all back there dying when I said that.
Mr. Leader.
Oh my gosh, I'll yield him that
Yeah, you
one.
gotta give me that one.
Stay out of the way between him and his staff. The Speaker is always right. I will own this one, because it is, of course, right, that I was born in the city of New Orleans, and New Orleans is the most fun place in the world. I mean, this is the birthplace of jazz. We had Fats Domino, who I got to meet and listen to play. The best food in the world, my goodness. I mean, we've got seafood in the Gulf of America. You go and you catch redfish, and you use some of the great Paul Prudhomme seasonings, cayenne, and all kind of great seasonings to cook up a blackened redfish. Gumbo, the Cajun, all the Cajun seasonings and the Cajun food that was invented all in South Louisiana and New Orleans. You think about a big po' boy, a shrimp po' boy, a roast beef po' boy. Charbroiled oysters were invented in New Orleans by my friend Tommy Satanovich at Drago's restaurant. I mean, my gosh, in Mardi Gras, we haven't even talked about that. It's just the sports. I mean, we had the Super Bowl in New Orleans recently. We've had every kind of sporting event you can imagine. I was in the Dome when Michael Jordan won the Final Four. I saw Muhammad Ali retained his title in the Superdome. Just some of the best sports in the world, all the best
LSU
people.
national
We have a
championship
great time.
in the
LSU won the national title with Joe Burrow,
Yeah.
throw touchdowns to Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson in the Dome. I mean, look, and Donald Trump was there at the game too, by the way. We had so much fun. But New Orleans is the best place in the world, most fun.
Well, it's hard to argue with these opinions, but I'm glad you mentioned sports, because that is my last question. So, don't worry about the brackets and how the logistics could work out. But who are the final two teams in college football in the national championship? And this, we got to make a prediction here. And I'm happy to go first if you want me to take the pressure off.
I know who you're going to pick, but
well,
go.
I've got my wife is an Aggie, my brother is an Aggie, my sister. We got a lot of Aggies, my dad. So, look, this is a big year for the Aggies, and I'm not going to rub it in. But I think it's going to be the Aggies playing the Buckeyes.
This has been a great interview.
At the end of the year. And you got to make a prediction. Jody was on this. Jody Arrington, obviously, is a big Red Raider, but he's not on this particular episode. So I don't know if anybody's picking the Red Raiders or not, but Mr. Speaker.
I ain't picking no Red Raiders, and it's going to be hard for me to acknowledge that A&M is legit. I mean, to go into Tiger Stadium and do what they did to us Saturday night, I've not seen that before in my life. And as painful as it is for me, it's way too soon for you to be going there. And I used to love you, August, but I don't anymore. And I guess A&M's we had a pretty good shot to be in the title game. I don't know who's the number 2 post, but I'm done with college football anyway for the rest of the season. It's too painful for me. I'm a double alum from LSU, undergrad and law school. But we're going to rebuild, and we'll be back. And I mean, that's the thing. I used to think Speaker of the House is the most stressful job in the world. I think a close second is SEC football coach. I mean, seriously, because if you don't win every Saturday night, your job's in jeopardy.
Yeah, but I want the buyout clause.
Yeah.
Fire me, give me the.
By the way, if y'all want to buy me out,
$54
I'll take it. Just let me know. Okay. Yeah.
NIL will apply to speakers. Mr. Leader.
So I am the eternal optimist. I was hoping if Saturday night we won out, beat Texas A&M, went to Alabama, ran the table, we'd be in the gig and we would actually go all the way and win the national title. It didn't happen. Props to A&M, and y'all won, which must mean y'all are the best team. We're probably the second best team, but we won't get there. So A&M in one of the spots. So for the number 2, I'll tell you, I'll throw you a slider because, okay, Ohio State's everybody's obvious pick, except there is one mutual opponent between Indiana and Ohio State, and it's Illinois, and Ohio State didn't do as well as Indiana. So I'll throw Indiana into that mix with Texas A&M, but the SEC is going to win, so congrats.
We need 2 SEC teams in the national.
It could very well happen.
It could happen.
It'll be Georgia, not Alabama.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly.
Gentlemen, thank you for joining. This is the Right to the Point podcast. Sometimes we're not quite right to the point, but it's great to have 2 former RSC chairmen here. Thank you for your leadership. Obviously here in the House, but I think our country thanks you for bringing people together and giving people hope. And that's really what being a conservative Republican is about. It's not about the negativity. It's about we have hope. We
A lot
have
to be hopeful for.
Optimism for our future, and y'all have brought that. Thank you.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks, August.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
You got it.